Thank you all so much for being here today. You know, listening to the beautiful words of our speakers, I was thinking, it's rare you get a chance to hear your memorial service. I want to express my gratitude and my happy birthday greetings to Edo Shimano Roshi. It's rare indeed that one has the opportunity in one's life to meet with great teachers, and I've been so fortunate, starting out with Edo Roshi, then with Soen Nakagawa Roshi, then with Myo-on, Maureen Stewart, really coming back to Edo Roshi in the full grandeur of his later years of teaching. And I know that there are many mixed emotions about our past, as we've heard, about looking at the time that I am now in. Many of you have asked me, how do you feel? I'm like, how do I feel? Of course, I feel great sadness because I love you all so much, and it will be difficult not to see you on a regular basis. And I know at the same time that the Hoenji Sangha will have a little more of me than they've had over the past 13 years. And I know too that you really can trust that you can't get rid of me. There are likely to be sessions here. I am likely to want to participate to some degree. There will be times when there's something that I'd very much like to do here. Now that I have two Dharma heirs who are men, I think my first act will be to hold a women's retreat here at Dai Bosatsu Zendo. Because I know how much women need to help each other in this practice. How much women need to develop trust in their own voices. How much they need to know that it's okay to step forth and offer what You may have been suppressing like good girls do. And I also know that this is a time when we are beyond that bifurcation of gender. And so I will welcome people from all points of personal journey. As I am totally sure that my Dharma heirs will do. This place is a place for everyone. People who may have been feeling shut out for one reason or another. What I most want to convey is that way of offering this practice. So that you don't have to feel that you have to meet a certain standard. The standard should be your love of Dharma. That's it. And your willingness to submit to the discipline of Zen training. The two go hand in hand. Of course, one can never retire from the Dharma. So you can count on my being present with you, whether it's here or at Hoenji or on Zoom. We will, of course, continue on this path. I want to read from the opening words of this book, which I will tell you a little more about, because it is where we find ourselves today. At a certain point in one's life, there is a punctuation mark. Well, the period at the end of the sentence of my time as abbot of the Zen Studies Society is not a full stop. It does confer a pause for reflection and appreciation. Somebody was reading this in the editing stages and said, well, you don't want to imply that your time as abbot of the Zen Studies Society was a sentence, do you? And I said, both ways are meant, intentional. So there is joy today, and there is also a feeling of sadness, particularly for those of us who have worked together in such an intensive way for so long. And for those, and this includes many of you, for those of you who have lost dear ones during this past difficult period that we have been working in, please don't consider this another loss. It is not. I am feeling very strong, very healthy, and we never know. We never know how many more moments we have. But just as when he was about to pass away, Buddha Shakyamuni told Ananda, Atadipa, you are the light. I want to invite all of us to chant this together. It's on the back of your program. And what I'd like to do is have each line followed by the English, which I've asked Kimpu to read. So line by line, we will do this together. So now that we have reminded ourselves of the most important thing, I thought I might give you a few excerpts from the book that I just put together. And it is an expression of my gratitude, as I wrote here, to you for walking with me on this endless path. These 13 years have been rich in Dharma friendships. The challenges have been many, the efforts have been huge, and the practice profound. This book is called Like a Dewdrop. My name, Roko. The final verse of the Diamond Sutra. Like a dewdrop. Zen Reflections 2016 through 23. What a time we've lived through. And so these are arranged in chronological order, with some of the early ones reflecting that 2016 year and honoring some of our ancestors. And I opened it with a talk about Son Shaku Zenji. And here's a little quote. Formal practice had become so thoroughly a part of his body-mind. It was completely natural. We too can reach this point. But have we mastered the heart? How do we convey, teach, pass on the Dharma without scorn or anger at someone not yet capable or someone with afflictions? It is important to realize the forms as containers for the reverential heart, rituals as expressions of deep gratitude and love of the Dharma. It's not just about knowing how to play an instrument or how to chant, but about cherishing humans of all varieties, learning to engage unflinchingly and impartially with whatever comes up. That's practice. And this is from a Teisho from 2016 called With Renewed Resolve in the wake of that election. When Bodhidharma had gone to Sozan, the mountain in China, and sat facing a steep cliff for 9 years, one cold day, Niso Eka came and stood outside, begging to be accepted as a student. What did Bodhidharma say? This is easy to remember.
Go away.
Go away. In the Dharma Hall, on the right is a painting of Bodhidharma. Get out of here. On the other side of the altar is a magnificent calligraphy by Yamada Mumon Roshi saying, "Why did Bodhidharma come from the West?" Bodhidharma finally told Eka, the subtle and supreme teachings of the Buddhas can be pursued only by endless assiduity, doing what is hard to do and bearing what is hard to bear, continuing the practice even for kalpas. How can one of little virtue and much self-conceit dream of achieving it? It will end only in fruitless labor. Endless assiduity. Here we are, sitting after sitting, session after session, continuing what we started a few kalpas ago. Doing what is hard to do and bearing what is hard to bear. Of course, we feel resistance to these words. And why? Seeking comfort is deeply embedded in the conditioned mind. We need to be aware of how powerful a tropism it is. We spend a lot of time thinking about how much better we'd feel if our circumstances were just a tad different from the way they are, if the political discourse were less offensive, if the outcome were different. And meanwhile, particularly in session, we try to find a better way to sit. We make this adjustment, that rearrangement, and think, okay, that works for me. But of course, that for me moment has already moved on, and a new discomfort has taken over. Still, we persist in trying to find something that works. There must be an easier way, a better product, maybe an app, a dependable biofeedback device, a change in diet, more sleep, exactly the right cushion. I remember driving back to Syracuse many years ago after Rohat's session, musing, the problem is really the cushions. The kapok ones go flat, the buckwheat hulls ones turn into concrete. What I really should do is design a cushion that has a layer of buckwheat hulls, a layer of kapok, and a layer of memory foam. Years later, I discovered that a Dharma supplies organization was selling exactly what I had fantasized about. So of course I ordered one. It was terrible. It didn't help my zazen a bit. Oh well. Most of us know the expression, the finger pointing at the moon. Out of ignorance or laziness, we may take the finger for the moon, conceptualizing about enlightenment based on reading about someone else's experience. It is essential to realize this full moon mind for oneself. We have to turn off the computer, muzzle the phone, shut the book, and just sit down, attending to nothing but each exhalation, breath after breath, becoming the moon, not getting lost in the highways and byways of intellectual evaluation and judgment, but just seeing into boundless truth beyond words and phrases. This is from December 2018. The day before Rohat's session began, our beloved dog Nikita passed away. here. The next morning, while I was sitting, I heard these words. This land is boundless without me. This mind is boundless without me. This love is boundless without me. I'm sure we've all had the experience, at least for a timeless moment, of being without that me. When the me, with its limited perspective and limiting demands, drops away, then there's just this land, this mind, this love. Boundless, free. We cannot speak about experience. We have to find words and phrases that assault the logic craving in discursive intellect. What is Zen? Here's a haiku that I wrote some winters ago. Into the red dawn, exploding from bare branches, black tumult of crows. I don't know. Do you want to hear anything else? Yes? Yes? Okay, then. This is from the section of the book called Sitting Alone Together, 2020. Session in the time of COVID. We are living in a time of great peril. More than ever, what is required is an inner revolution to evolve from ego addiction and resolve to be a vessel of compassion. This is an ongoing process. It takes courage to look within and acknowledge our laziness, our timidity, our unwillingness to do what is asked of us, to see the manifold ways we cut corners, put things off, don't follow through. We can't actualize our bodhisattva vow when we think we're separate from others, when we put all our energy into protecting this illusory construction we call the self. We chanted at the beginning of our ceremony the Heart Sutra. Most of us know it, even by heart. But how many of us have taken it to heart? Throughout the millennia, the Heart Sutra has served as a mystical guide for experiencing equanimity and living with compassion in the midst of dire circumstances. It's time for us to take it seriously and chant it throughout the day and night. It opens with Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, doing deep prajna paramita, sitting in the perfection of wisdom, through which the emptiness of all phenomena is revealed. At the heart of the Heart Sutra is the phrase, form is exactly shunyata, emptiness. Shunyata, exactly form. It is in realizing the absolute interrelatedness of form and emptiness that our compassion freely functions. Emptiness is pure energy. It manifests in transitory forms. When we examine form, we find there is nothing solid, nothing fixed. Every form is in the process of transforming, being born, and disappearing. Buddhist practice, we are all doing it. But what is it really? It's nothing but changing our attitude, changing our mind. With that recognition, we can find ourselves grateful for, instead of resentful toward, our difficulties during this time of interwoven adversities and global turmoil. Recently, I received a fortune cookie message saying, turbulence is a life force. It is opportunity. Let's love turbulence and use it for change. It's a good reminder that turbulence itself brings about the possibility for significant shifts. When the old form breaks apart, do we try to patch it back together as it was? Or do we pay attention to something waiting to be born? This is from February 2022. 4 years ago, Edo Shimano Roshi gave a teisho at Shogen Junior College in Gifu, Japan. 2 days later, on February 19th, 2018, he departed from this realm. In the teisho, he had everyone recite a section from Dogen's Life-Death. Free body, mind, and abandon it. Throw yourself into the house of the Buddha. Let the Buddha initiate you, and simply follow this effortlessly, without anxiety. Then you can be freed from samsara, life-death, and become a Buddha. And knowing how complex our deep connection was, I wanted to read you something that Shinge Roshi said, thinking of his own teacher. The unique relationship in Zen between teacher and student exists on a deep level that cannot be rationally explained. There is profound and mutual recognition of a sort that goes beyond the usual human emotions. It is an uncanny bonding. Because of our Dharma connection, our karma is forever intermingled. And then he quoted from Daito Kokushi, parted from each other for millions of eons, yet not even for a second separated. Okay, I have one more passage to read to you, if you're up for it. That's the right answer. And this, of course, reflects some of what has been said today. Reflecting on those early years and the struggles and difficulties that arose here, tears come as I recall that energy, that innocence, and sheer enthusiasm. We had no idea what we were doing. We knew it was just what we needed. But I also remember the pain as we came to recognize karmic patterns hidden beneath the brilliance of great insight. And this is, by the way, from my anniversary session talk of this year. Indeed, light and darkness are intermingled. Eddie Daniels played A Child is Born. Those of us who have gone through labor and giving birth know that it's both agonizing and supremely joyful. And then what? Raising a child, going through the terrible twos, adolescence, adulthood, and the worst agony of all, having a child fall ill, having a child overcome by addiction, losing a child. Despite our best efforts, nothing can remain hidden. In those early days, the prevailing view was like the military's view of being gay. Don't ask, don't tell. But the asking and telling grew more intense in direct proportion to the degree of secrecy. We may think we're undercover. Remember that old song by the Chiffons from 1966? No one knows what's going on in my mind but me. Really? The Dhammapada says you are what you think. From your thoughts comes speech, from your words come actions. Everyone is affected. How can it not be so? Can we acknowledge unskillful acts without blaming and castigating, we tend to fall into a pattern of hiding and pointing a finger. Can we see our karmic entanglements, our dissatisfaction and craving as the goad we need to say, enough. I'm fed up with this circling around again and again. I want to stop. This practice is what we do to face what we need to see, for purification, for atonement and forgiveness, for really resolving to change. Then our response to what needs attention can come from that place of natural wisdom, natural compassion. We can shine the light into all the darkest corners of our personal and collective karma. We can accept our mistakes and failures with faith and understanding, and arouse our determination to dig into this matter.